Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Enchanting Insights with Lala. Hello, Tammy. Hello, Penny Van. Nana Kim. Silence Bob. Let's see who else we got sliding in this evening. Judy. Welcome, Judy and Yolanda. Hopefully, everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday evening. Susan Alloy. And let's see who else we have here. So, Lala, what we got going on tonight?
It's
Crystal.
Another roundtable. I just want to say hi to my son Xander. He's going to pop in and say hi. But we have 3 special guests: Victor Fuhrman, Karen Holton, and Vinny Vineyard.
All right, let's bring him in. Welcome, Victor. And
good evening. Welcome,
Vinny and Karen. Welcome all. Hello. Nice to have you all.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to be had.
Do you guys want to go around and introduce yourselves and what you do and promote whatever you have going on. Karen, you want to start?
Sure. My name is Karen Holton. I'm the host of the Quantum Guide Show, and I have a second podcast called Aliens and Angels. And you can find both shows and a whole bunch of other stuff on my YouTube channel. Actually, I'm on all social media platforms under @Karen Holton TV. I'm also part of the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. And so you can find me on all the audio podcasts as well. I also have a website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. And that has all my videos, and I have a shop, and I have all kinds of information and published articles and all kinds of stuff that's helpful. I'm a different kind of health coach. Basically, what I'm trying to do is help people who want to reach that higher level of humanity, where we step outside of the matrix and we start to use our God-given paranormal gifts, telepathy, having contact with angels, space aliens, whatever. It's all possible, and it's all our birthright. And so that's basically where the position I'm coming from.
Awesome.
And you make really pretty organite. That's you sell on your website.
Yes, thank you. I do. And that's how I support my channel and my website, because YouTube is never going to monetize me. I guess I'm so far out of the box, and I have some really good tips on how other people can escape the matrix as well. And so YouTube will not monetize me. And so I sell orgone generators as a way to help me cover my expenses. Yeah. So.
Great.
Thank you for mentioning that, Lala. Yours are beautiful too, by the way.
Thank you. I have one of yours. I love it. I put it, sometimes I'll wear it, sometimes I'll put it in my garden, and then the plants will just bloom. So it's really good.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. It's awesome stuff.
Victor, you want to go?
Good evening. Hi, everybody. I'm Victor Fuhrman. Some people call me The Voice. I have two podcasts with Om Times Radio. One is called Destination Unlimited, which is the crossroads between science and spirituality. That's every Wednesday night at 8:03 on Om Times Radio. And the link for that is omtimes.com/IOM/shows/destination-unlimited. And then on Thursday nights, I have a show called Vox Novus, The New Voice, which is something I started with the advent of COVID, talking about changes in our society and culture. And that's on Thursday nights also at 8:03, also on Om Times Radio. All of the shows are on various podcast sites, including YouTube and iHeartRadio, and they're all over the place, Spotify and SoundCloud. And if you just put in Victor Fuhrman Om Times, you'll find me just about everywhere. I have a website in sore need of updating. It's victorthevoice.com. And I will be in the process of updating it. And aside from that, I spent a 44-year career in the welding technology and engineering business, but I also have a spiritual side to my life. I had a calling in the mid to late 1990s that led me to the New Seminary of New York, one of the first interfaith seminaries in the world. And I was ordained and graduated from that seminary in 1997. And I received my Doctor of Ministry from them 2 years ago. So I have that spiritual side of my life. I have the more left brain side of my life with technology. And about 15 years ago, a friend of mine who knew about both sides of my life says, how do you balance the fact that you have a day job in industry and basically this other side of your life in spiritual work? And I responded without even thinking about it. I said, the day job pays my salary. The other work pays my soulery. This word soulery came out of me.
Right.
And my first book, I've co-written books, but my first book of my own will be Soulery, The Compensation of Spirit. And I hope to have that out early next year.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vinny.
I'm sorry. I'm hearing an applause somewhere in my headphones there. I always get, I want to know about this. Karen says she knows some forbidden knowledge. I wanted to break that out and tell us what's going on with that forbidden knowledge. Or if you tell us, will you get shocked?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, that's you, right?
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, basically, I've had a paranormal life, and I'm nobody special. Believe me, I'm nobody special. And yet I have these amazing experiences. And for a while, I thought I was crazy, because nobody else is having these experiences. Nobody else is talking about it. And finally, I just went, dadgummit, this is real. This is my reality, and this is my truth, and I'm going to speak it. And when I started doing that, I started finding out that other people were having similar experiences. So I have had contact from all kinds of beings. It's always a telepathic connection. And what that means for me, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, I'm not trying to project this onto anyone else. We're all unique in how we experience things. But I get downloads where it's like spontaneous knowing, precognition. I get sensations in my body. I get all kinds of weird stuff. And over the years, I've learned to read it so that I know basically where it's coming from, whether it's coming from ET sources or angelic sources. And so I'm quite convinced we all have this God-given ability. But you see, we've been very much conditioned into a world where we're taught that, basically, I guess it was a couple hundred years ago, they split spirituality from the physical, and they put the physical, they gave that to science, and they took the spiritual and they gave that to the churches. And it was separated, but that's an artificial separation. As Victor, you probably know, it's an artificial separation. It's not separate. Science is spiritual and spiritual is science. Now, I don't come from any kind of a club or a religion, or it's just me all by myself with my goofy experiences and my big mouth expressing what I've been through. And I got to tell you, my most significant experience happened during a 3-month period of time, and it happened in my dream state. So I'm transdimensional, and I have transdimensional experiences in the dream state. That's when it happens for me. It's quite different than dreaming. And in a 3-month period, I was taken aboard what I call the big ship. It's not actually in outer space. It's in interdimensional space. It's in a little pocket. If you look at a Venn diagram with a lot of overlapping ovals, it would be in the place where they all overlap. So it's different dimensional realities, universes, whatever. And this place exists for me. Anyway, long story short, I experienced time dilation. So for me, it was like a 3.5-year experience. And right now I'm working on my manuscript. I want to publish a book telling people all about what happened. So much detail that I just, and there's so much I don't know. So obviously I'm not making it up, because if I was making it up, I wouldn't have all those areas where I don't know. You know what I mean? I could make it up, but I'm not. So anyway, it's been just an incredible experience, and I've been sharing that with people. And I don't think I'm that unique. I think a lot of this stuff happens to a lot of people. Unfortunately, a lot of people, are isolated in their experiences, and they're perhaps doubting their own sanity, like I did for years before. I just went, no, I'm nuts. I got nothing to lose. I'm an old lady. I'm just going to speak the truth. Did I answer your question?
Well, absolutely. But you're talking about sometimes you feel sensations in your body. Is that right?
Yeah. It's a combination. So, for instance, I'll get spontaneous knowings. I will get in my imagination or my mind's eye. I'll get symbols and things. I'll get physical sensations and even emotions. And I learned to read all these different signals to pick up the messages. And the spontaneous downloads are trippy because it happens in a moment, but it could take me years to actually unpack it all. It's so much information. So I have to process it. And then if I want to share it with people, I have to downstep it into common language that everyone can understand. Anyone who understands basic English, regardless of their background, their culture, their education, regardless of their spiritual beliefs. It has to be very universal. So it's a bit of a job, but I just keep working on it.
Karen, I think we're soul family, you and me. No question about it.
Oh, awesome, Victor. I'm so happy to hear that.
No.
Now, every time I see Lala, I feel a physical sensation in my body. Is that something like you're talking about?
It all depends what
Oh,
part of your
God.
body you're talking about, brother.
We'll talk about
I'm
that
sorry, I
later.
didn't mean to be rude. It just came out.
Do you guys hear ringing in your ears sometimes when when a spirit wants to get a hold of me? It either blocks out sound completely or it has a high vibration. I get that a lot. I do want to show pictures that we have. Victor wants us to it's really cool. Everybody's going to like it. Maybe you could explain what we're looking at.
Sure. In 2000, I developed a class called Enervision, which would give people the opportunity to sense subtle energy either through clairaudience, hearing, clairvoyance, seeing, clairsentience, feeling. And while I was doing this, I was inviting people to come up and sort of put their hands around me and feel anything they might feel. And a friend of mine with a 35 millimeter camera took a series of photos. And on one of those photos, this image showed up.
Wow.
And I make no claims about it other than if it stimulated someone's interest in finding out more and going further in the study of this energy that exists around everything and everyone and all of creation, that this would be a way of stimulating that interest. Then about 2 years later, she got Photoshop and she was able to filter it with Photoshop. And the next photo is the filtered photo, if you can just pop that up, Grizz. And that shows a little more definition as to what was there on the center of my chest. Again, no claims other than this was actually what was on the negative. It was filtered, and this is what showed up. So the idea behind it is if it stimulates someone to go out and find out for themselves, as Karen was sharing, when I was a kid, I was told I had an overactive imagination, not to tell things to people. I would get in trouble for sharing things with adults and with teachers and so on and so forth, until things started happening that proved what I was saying.
Right.
And they realized that I didn't need counseling and that I didn't have an overactive imagination.
Right.
So consequently, to Karen's point, all of us have the ability to sense this energy that exists around everything, either through clairaudience, hearing, clairvoyance, seeing, clairsentience, feeling. There's clairolfactance, which is actually smelling. There's various different ways of sensing things. And if people would learn just to sort of quiet the mind, put the cell phone away, spend a little time meditating, perhaps doing some breathing or yoga exercises, you're going to find that you're going to become more and more aware of this energy that's around everything. And that was my class. I called it Enervision.
Okay.
Now,
Very
Science
interesting.
Bob wants to know, Victor, can you see and read auras?
I can see auras. I can read colors. I'm not a specialist in this. I don't hang out a shingle as a medium or a psychic. But yes, I can see them. I can give people guidance. One of the things that got me involved in working with energy was I became a Reiki master in the 1990s. And in the process of doing that, I was able to read people's energy and determine things that were needed in terms of their balancing their energy, their life energy. For those not familiar, Reiki is a Japanese word which means universal life energy.
Mm-hmm. My dad, he called it healing of the hands, and that's what he specialized in.
Mm.
Are there any things that people can, I guess if people aren't sure they want to get Reiki, but they don't feel great, or are there certain red flags in your body that your body tells you that there's a blockage and you need help?
If you're asking me, I think, yeah, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
all of us have sensed from time to time that things were out of balance,
Right.
and not be able to perhaps put a finger on it. But I think, again, this idea of we live in such a world filled with chatter and noise that if we quiet our minds and sort of relax and just sort of go with the feeling that we have, we can start identifying these imbalances. Obviously, if you feel anything out of imbalance, please see your practitioner, your doctor,
Right.
whoever it might be.
Yeah.
We're not saying don't go to your physician, but we are saying that sometimes you can feel these things. And sometimes if they're emotionally based, by quieting yourself and going inside and getting in touch with what's going on. Why am I feeling this pain? Well, what does that pain represent to you? Give the pain a name, and perhaps the name of someone who's giving you a hard time will be will manifest itself, and then you'll have an answer as to where that pain is coming from.
Right.
Victor, Penny Van writes to you, I'm freaking out right now because this sort of shield that she sees on you, readers have said they see in front of me, but mine is always black though. What
Penny,
does that mean?
I can't address that. I don't know what they mean by black, other than the fact that we all reflect, we all have an aura. And so the aura could be different colors depending upon things that, yeah, standing stones, you're 100% right. I was just going to say, Penny, do you have any type of issues of illness that you're dealing with, or anything that's, the great question, standing stones, also surgeries, something that perhaps is causing that aura to be I wouldn't say black, but I would say to be grayish or distorted or flattened in some way. And it may be indicative of something that you're processing.
That makes sense. So yeah, Penny. So I wouldn't, lose too much over it. I wouldn't. But any recommendations for Victor?
Again, sort of get in touch with. Let's see, which has Karen done remote? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So get in touch with those feelings. Get in touch with that sensation. See if there's a name to what's going on within your body or your emotions, and seek help if you need help. There's no shame in seeking help if you need help to clarify things.
Awesome, thank you. Hope that helps you, Penny Van. Penny Van writes to you, Victor, I have a lifetime of health issues. 3 people have randomly come up to me over the course of 50 plus years and tell me I have only a black shield shape aura.
Penny, I think that if you were to open your heart to yourself, this is what I'm getting for you, Penny. Penny, I bet you're the kind of person who's been running around taking care of everybody else and not taking care of yourself. And there comes a point where you say, you know what? It's wonderful to care for others and take care of others. But love starts inside. Love starts with you. You have to start taking care of yourself. In the process of doing so, you'll heal whatever these imbalances are and balance yourself out. And you'll have a beautiful, shining aura, rainbow aura.
Can I
Awesome.
say something also about my own
Yes.
health journey? Okay, so for me, I always tried to get rid of pain and discomfort any way I could. And it wasn't until I started listening to myself that I started realizing that suffering, my personal suffering, was actually messages for me to do something different. Now I'm speaking strictly from my own perspective. Please don't take anything I say as medical or professional advice, because I'm certainly not meaning that. But from my own experience, what I had to do was pretty much walk away from the medical industry, stop taking the pills and the treatments so that I could get in touch with what was going on for me. And I found that I needed to make a lot of lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes really helped and really made it so that my paranormal experiences were much cleaner and more frequent and bolder. So, and I'm not saying everyone should do this or do that. I would never do that, because I agree with Victor. You got to learn to love yourself. I had to learn to love myself and to go within. So even now, if I get an ache in my foot or my hip or something, I'll send myself love. I'll send love to that area and just bathe myself in love. And it's surprising how well it works. So I haven't taken over-the-counter or prescription anything for like 15, 20 years now.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm the only old lady I know that doesn't have a bag of pills. But I'm not saying I'm better. Please don't take it that way either. I'm just saying, yeah, that spending time with self, putting away the distractions and spending time with self, getting to know yourself. And oh my God, it's the best connection to the spiritual realms. And it's just such a beautiful experience, at least in my opinion.
You know, I used to be a people pleaser. And I could not say no to anyone for anything, to the extent that it actually started affecting my health.
Yep.
And it took a hard lesson for me to learn that the N-word, no, is okay to say in many different circumstances if you're denying yourself the care and the love that you need. And a poem came through me when I had this breakthrough. It's called The Healing Power of No. And if I may share that with you, take a second to pull it up for you. but I would love to share that if you'd like to hear it. And again, this was in response to a situation where people were taking advantage of me. And I had to really finally recognize that I have to take care of myself first. It's called The Healing Power of No. And it goes like this. It goes, a time comes for choosing rather than losing the essence that makes us so. And in the bestowing, there's power in knowing the freedom that comes with no. When said with compassion, not angry in fashion, and letting the self-love flow, there's a sense of renewing and deep soul imbuing the awareness that comes with no. So with gentle voice and the power of choice and the courage to make it so, I'm still here, my friends. There's no means in this end, just the healing that comes with no.
I like that.
Interesting.
I love it. I love it. Well
Thank you.
said.
Thank you.
Did you know it rhymed when you wrote it?
I've been channeling poetry since I was a kid. You're
That's
rhyming
pretty
poetry
good
since I was a
there.
kid, yeah.
That's a trick the poets use.
So Derek writes, we have been seeing a female apparition in our house 4 times in 6 weeks. The last contact, the apparitions responded to me with a head nod. She has a blue aura around her body. What does that usually mean?
Blue is communication.
Interesting.
I didn't know they could head nod. Like, how you doing?
Yes.
She was inner
Yeah.
city. She was doing this. What's up? So, your aura was rainbow colored. It looked very aerodynamic. What does that mean?
You're talking about the second photo, the filtered photo?
Yes.
It wasn't rainbow color. Well, the original one was that sort of golden color. And then when she filtered it with Photoshop to take some of the glare out, you saw those other things. Now, I'm not going to make any claims about that photo, other than the fact that it appears that there was some type of an energy form on my chest, some type of an energy being actually on my chest.
That's not your aura. That's something else.
I think that's something else, yeah. But again, I'm
Is
not
that
going to make
menacing to you, or is
no,
that
not at all. In fact,
Okay.
for me, this was just another evidence of the fact that these energies exist all around us, and if we could but perceive them and see them and relate to them, and then with that information start going within and finding the answers, because all the answers that we need for ourselves are within us. We have all the knowledge that we need. We just have to recognize that and be willing to open up to that information.
We have a video of something coming out of our wall in front of the house that's shaped just like that.
Really?
Yeah, it only happened one time, but it kind of moved like this. But it looked just like that, and we never knew what it was, but it had a good feeling to it, you know.
Absolutely.
Bob does have a question, really quick. Hold on, he texted me. Has Karen done remote readings or healings, and what does he cut it off? I forgot.
cliffhanger?
I do have some services on my website that include helping people with their spirituality or their paranormal experiences or even their health. And I am able to, what I call, cast my psychic net and pull in information that might be helpful to people. And but beyond that, I definitely can do healing with my hands. I know, because of the heat that my hands produce while I'm doing it. I usually do it to myself or my cats because I don't have a lot of contact with the outside world for a whole bunch of boring reasons I won't get into. But I'll tell you one thing I do is I scroll through Facebook, and everybody who asks for help, and there's a lot of people that ask for help, I hold my hand out in front of their post, and I send them healing, loving energy and peace. And I do that until I can feel a physical connection between my hand and my phone. Now, I believe that most of reality, there is no time and space. So this is absolutely plausible, and it can't hurt. And I do it all the time. These people never even know that I'm doing it, but I always do it to everybody I see. And people in the hospital, people who ask for prayers for a relative or lost pet, doesn't matter what. I take the time to do that.
What if somebody is in desperate need for $43,000? Could you do that?
Sure, I'd try.
All right, here we go. There we go. Oh, I'm feeling
Be
it.
careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
Ooh, smoking.
I'm sorry, Lala, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if everybody who's watching us right now wants to try a little experiment, real simple experiment, take your hands and just rub them together like this for a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds rather, not 2 minutes. Okay. Now, when you stop, what I'd like you to do is bring your hands and pull them apart. I don't have much. I can do this like this. Here we go. And then slowly bring them together until you feel resistance, as if something is pushing them apart. You feel
Holy
it?
crap.
That's the energy field.
That's witchcraft.
That's around each and every sentient being, every animal, everything in creation. And you just feel it. You feel that energy. Now, once you feel that energy, now if there's a part of you that's in aching or pain right now, something that's bothering you,
crazy.
something that's just disturbing your emotions or whatever it might be, place your hands, not touching, no contact, but just a couple of inches above whatever that item might be, that place might be. And if it's something emotional or something that's troubling you, do it on either side of your head.
Mm-hmm.
And just feel that energy. Just move your hands in and out. So you don't have to be initiated in Reiki or any of the healing modalities to do this. Everyone can do this. You can do it for your cat or dog. You can do it for your pets. You can do it for your animals.
Will that bring up some emotion? Is that releasing of?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
If you're holding on to something, if you're grieving, if you're holding on to something,
no more.
it'll help. It'll help. No, just give it. It's there.
Can you do that?
That I can't do.
Okay.
You've got it, Vinny. That's the greatest
helps or
talent of
not.
all. Thank you.
My dad, he'd go,
That's so weird.
Yep.
and then he'd put
Voodoo.
So I have a question I ask every show. Vinny, what is everybody? It's for everybody. What is the most memorable or just strange experience you've ever had or heard of from a friend? It could be paranormal, alien, anything. Vinny, you want to go for your fifth time?
I don't. This question. There's so much stuff that's happened. I have a hard time with this question. That's why I always, if you've ever noticed, I've always deflected and asked somebody else. I've just had so many crazy things happen. But I'll tell you. Did you know that I held 2 records in professional sports? Lala.
Did you?
These are two real. I'm the only person. I used to play semi-pro basketball for the Lackawanna Funk, and I was in Mississippi. I'm the only player in pro basketball history to ever be attacked by a pack of wild animals twice in a single game. I had there were no air conditioning in Mississippi. They left the doors open, and I was eating pepperonis that were in my shorts, and these 2 packs of dogs came in and started nipping at me. And then that was quite a scene. We lost that game too. And then my other record was I'm the only professional, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody. I'm the only professional wrestler in history of wrestling that's ever wrestled an entire match where his opponent had a raging medical for the entire match, and that was broadcasted out into the ethos. So 2 records.
Grizzly's like, great. That's great.
Hey, I didn't say nothing. I could have used worse words, but those are 2 crazy things that happened to me.
That's memorable. Thank you.
Yeah.
Karen, do you want to? You've had a lot of experiences.
Oh, I've had a lot, but I'll tell you about my first really profound experience, which was before the ET. Everything came after this one experience, and I had been a member. I actually was a Jehovah's Witness for 17 years of my adult life, and I quit.
Wow.
And no disrespect to religion, but I was done with it, and I left it. And I had a series of troubling events because you lose your community. It's a shunning organization, right? You lose everything when you leave. So it's kind of hard on you for a while. But anyway, my kids went to live with their dad. And then he cut me off. And I was in such a low state of grieving that I tapped into an energy that was not mine. But I didn't know. I didn't have the experience at that point. And there was a man who lived in the house before me who had offed himself in a very specific way. I found out 2 years later, I met a woman who knew the mother of the man, and she told me, and I was blown away because this was exactly how I was going to off myself, because I was just in such a low state of grieving. I had tapped into this energy from the man who had offed himself. I know it sounds bizarre, but this is
No,
this
it's
is how it
true.
was for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was going to off myself, and I actually had an angelic visitation, and it was the wildest experience. It was like 1,000 points of light. Light was streaming out from each point sideways like wings. I didn't actually see physical angels the way they're represented in art, but this was how it happened. They spoke as one voice in perfect unison, and they spoke to me. And I was wide awake. This wasn't a dream. This is one of the few that happened without me being in a dream state or anything. And they said that there's actually exit points. Life is not supposed to be so unbearably painful. But if I wanted to stay, they'd give me a gift. And I went, wow. Because I was just blown away by the experience. I couldn't think straight. What did I want? I don't know. So I said, well, can I think about it? And they said, of course, we're always close by. We always know what you're needing, what your desire is. Just let us know. So I thought about it. It took me a few days. I thought, do I want to be rich and beautiful? Do I want to be powerful? Yes. Like what are all the things that could fix my life, get my kids back, right? And I went, no, none of those things felt right. And finally I realized what I needed was wisdom, because if I had wisdom, I could fix my own damn life, and that's what I asked for. Now, me being naive, a naive kind of person, I thought they just pour the wisdom into my brain. It didn't work that way. I had all kinds of experiences and I learned, but I learned very, very well. And I started seeing things in a very complex way, in a very detailed way. And I just learned so much so that I got to the point where I could fix my life, which I did, of course. And I can fix anything. I got my own back, so I don't have to worry about anyone else having my back. I got my back. My higher self has my back. And then there's the unseen realms that have my back. I got nothing to worry about. I'm good, right? Yeah. So that was after that I had all my other experiences. Well, I did have them when I was a kid and stuff, but I denied them. And of course, being a JW, believe me, there's no room for any of that stuff. Yeah. And then I had to overcome my own internal oppression, where I was beating myself up saying, oh, you got an overactive imagination or something wrong with you. You need attention, that you're making up these stories, like all that other chatter I had to deal with. And so anyway, the best thing that ever happened to me. And obviously I'm still here. I'm doing good. I'm strong.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry you went through all that.
No, shit happens. Everyone's life, every one of us, shit happens.
Oh yeah.
Sorry can I say shit? I don't know.
No, you cannot. Hey, let me show you a trick. If you ever need this, rub your hands together for a few seconds, right? And then when you do that, you feel the resistance there, and that can heal you. I heard some guy on this show once tell me that stuff. So if you're ever in that situation,
it works.
It works.
It does.
I've been doing this for years. Ooh.
Victor's like,
Feels like a banana.
So, Victor, have you had, I know the picture was amazing, but have you had other experiences that just you'll never
I've had so many that we don't have enough time in this lifetime to discuss them, but I'll share a couple.
Hey, Lala, you got to fix that question.
I don't know how to say it. Okay?
I know you had, but it's like, what have you seen? It's nuts. It's like everybody that's on your show's like, That last show, the guy was in the pyramids, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's like, you know, he's seen that guy has been in the guys of pyramids 3 or 4 times. We gotta come up with a better way to frame that with these, because everyone your guests has just a pantheon of paranormal experience. We got to figure out. Maybe you could change it every week and specify
until it's like
it.
perfect. Yeah.
That's a $43,000 word, by the way, Benny. Pantheon is a $43,000 word. So you got your 43,000.
I got that from the last show. The guy had a doctorate in Egyptology or whatever that was called.
So the first thing, just as a kid, I had a number of experiences, contact experiences. I never called it abduction because I said these were my teachers, and I referred to the episodes as night school. And as a 6-year-old, I came back with information that I would have no other source for. Most of the kids my age wanted toy trucks and toy soldiers. This is in the early 1950s or the mid 1950s. I wanted kids to build radios. I built my first crystal radio when I was 6 years old. So This is the kind of thing that we're talking about. When I was in first grade, which would have been 1959, the teacher had in her library a book on the shelf that said, "You will go to the moon." And I said to the teacher, "Can I take that home and read it?" She said, "Sure." So I took it home and read it. 2 weeks later, she said, "You have to bring the book back." I said, "I can't." She said, "Why not?" I said, "Because it's wrong. The book is wrong." She goes, "How do you know it's wrong?" Because I've been there. So needless to say, my parents were called, the principal's office, the school psychologist, the whole 9 yards. And, you know, that overactive imagination. The kid has an overactive imagination. Okay. The next most interesting, well, also one other thing, when I was a kid, I was very close to my paternal grandfather, my father's father. He was a bit of a mystic. And I learned a lot from him, from the stuff that we're talking about. When I was 7 years old, I was sitting in my parents' apartment. I was in my room and I was reading something or doing something. And I looked up and my grandfather was standing there. I said, "Grandpa, when did you come in?" He didn't say a word, just smiled at me and slowly dissolved and faded away. I went into the living room and I said, "Grandpa was here." And they said, "Oh, you're imagining things." And a couple of minutes later, the phone rang with word of his passing. So that was my first experience of actually seeing disembodied spirit, disembodied soul, spirit, the energy of what we are, the essence of what we are. 1975, I was stationed in Korea. I was in the Air Force. And I was having some problems with my back. I was involved in an intramural Army Air Force football game, and some gentleman in the Army decided to tackle me with his head right in the small of my back, and it really messed up my back.
Oh my God.
And a friend of mine suggested I try acupuncture, and I had heard of acupuncture, but I never experienced it. And I found a Korean acupuncturist, and I had this wonderful treatment, and it actually helped a lot, and the pain subsided, and I felt a lot better. What I did not know at the time was that hepatitis B was endemic in Korea. In other words, a lot of people carried it without manifesting the disease. They did not use disposable needles, and their sterilization techniques were not the best. 2 weeks after the acupuncture treatment, I woke up one morning, and I look in the mirror, and my eyes are yellow. And I said, "Uh-oh, something's not right here." And I went to the hospital, the Army hospital, and they looked at my eyes and they said, "You have hepatitis." They immediately admitted me, and I'd lost my appetite. I started losing weight. One day the doctor came in and said, "Do you have a will?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, we're going to have the Judge Advocate General's office send somebody over to make a will. You need a will because you're not doing well." They had the Red Cross send a telegram to my mother back in New York saying, "Your son is very seriously ill. His chances of recovery are not good. We will keep you informed," which thrilled my mother, obviously. So then I have been listening to this inner voice again since childhood. And whenever the voice would bring me information, I would respond to that information, whatever it might be. And one day the voice said, "Ask the doctor for a picture of a healthy liver." So I said, "Okay." And the doctor came in and I said, "Do you have a picture of a healthy liver?" He said, "Why?" I said, "I just want to look at what a healthy liver looks like." So he brought me an anatomy book with a healthy liver image in it. And I started studying the image. And then after a while, the voice said, "Put the book down and place your palms over your abdomen." Now, mind you, I had no experience with energy healing up to that point, was not involved with Reiki or anything. I was 25 years old. It was way, way before I ever got involved in any of that stuff. And so consequently, I did exactly what the voice said. And I started feeling this wonderful, warm, tingling sensation. And it lasted for a while. And at some point, I fell asleep. 5 o'clock the next morning, the nurse wakes me up. She apologized. She said, she says, I have to draw your blood. Drew the blood. 2 hours later, she came back. She said, the lab messed up your blood samples. We have to do another draw. I'm really sorry. And I said, whatever. An hour later, the doctor came and said, what did you do last night after I gave you that book? And I told him, he says, you're crazy. And I said, why? He said, last night, your liver enzymes were so high, we didn't think you'd survive the night. This morning, they're almost normal. We've never seen anything like that happen before.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So you would think I would have had that aha moment, that awakening, jumped up and said, yes, that's my path. But I wasn't ready. I had to go back to sleep until my mid to late 30s when my path reopened again. But that was probably, and then one more story that happened in Korea. The following year, I was in Korea 75, 76. The following year, the voice said one day, you have to call your mother back in New York. She needs to hear from you. She's having a problem, but she needs to hear from you. I said, okay. So back in those days, for those of us who are old enough, there was a thing called an extension phone where you had a main telephone line. You had extensions of the same phone in other rooms. So I called, and my sister and my mother picked up the phone simultaneously, and I said, Mom, what's wrong? And my sister goes, oh my God, how did he find out? So it turned out that she was scheduled for surgery the next day. And the voice told me to tell her, you're going to have a complete recovery. The surgery is going to be completely successful. You're going to be just fine. She needed to hear those reassuring words from me. 6,000 miles away. She needed to hear those reassuring words from me. And of course, everything proceeded as the voice said it would be, that she was fine and everything was fine. Wow. Those are probably some of the most, demonstrative things that I've experienced, but there's been so many more.
Why were you in Korea? Did I miss why you?
I was in the Air Force. Air Force.
So you were in the base in South Korea. Okay.
Correct.
I got you.
Yongsan compound in South Korea.
Okay. Do you feel like those things that happen are milestones in your life that are gifts? Like, it sounds like that story's so nuts where you got hit in the back and then you got an acupuncture and hepatitis, that was all intentional. So it would get your mind geared and you'll have a milestone in your life that kind of creates a fence for you, if that makes sense.
I had a spiritual teacher when I was in the seminary in the 90s that used to say that everything is unfolding in divine order. Now, he said sometimes things happen that you just don't like, you hate, that you don't understand. But ultimately, if you step back and look at things with what he referred to as your spiritual eyes, you'll understand that a higher purpose has always been at work in your life. And I subscribe to that. When he said that, I completely.
What was the quote again? I'm getting
everything is unfolding in divine order. Everything is
unfolding in divine order. I do like that. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna plagiarize that.
Absolutely, and plagiarize it from him, who plagiarized it from his teacher, or whatever, going back millennia. And the other aspect of it is, I'm a firm experiencer and believer in synchronicity. That was a term that Carl Jung coined for meaningful coincidences without causal connection. Things that just seem to happen together that have more than just a mere coincidence. And I've had those throughout my entire life. And I found that every time I've been presented with a situation, I had three choices. I could dismiss it out of hand. I could say, that's interesting, but later, not right now. Or I could say, yes, that's something that I want to find out about now. And for every time I said that big why yes, the next one came, and the next one came, and the next one came. So we have to be open to receiving all of these wonderful gifts, all of these synchronicities, all of these wonderful teachings. And when we're open to doing that, they'll all unfold for us.
No, I agree.
That actually, and I'm surprised I'm going to say this, Victor. I went through that life lesson in 2019 when I got hurt. They thought I broke my back on the force. And that's when they found the kidney cancer. And I had only 6 months to live. If I didn't get hurt, I wouldn't be here. And it was a miracle. And what you speak of is what I went through in transitions. And I had to learn. And I went through my spiritual journey in the past few years. And I have adopted what you just said. And it is true and correct, what you speak of. So it's just amazing, ladies and gentlemen, is when he said that, it just resonated with me. And I don't know if it resonated with anybody in the audience where it's going to be a listen to this on rebroadcast and on the audio in the morning. But it's got some teeth in that one. So I decided to say that.
I think it happens for people. It doesn't happen for everybody, but it happens for people sometimes. I think whoever is in control wants, because I do believe we're given free will, but occasionally I do feel like there's some sort of pinball bumper that kind of wants to shoot us in a direction, and occasionally something divine comes through and says, "All right, you need to kind of go this way now." And I think sometimes it's not for everybody, but when it happens, you kind of know. It's like Pulp Fiction. If you ever see it, the bullets flying at Sam Jackson and John Travolta, and one thinks it's divine, the other thinks it's just a crazy fluke, and then at the end of the movie, one dies and one doesn't. It's like there was something divine, even though it's a story, that was trying to point him in a direction, and one accepted, one did not, and then that's kind of what happens. So I think that it doesn't happen for everybody, but I do think it happens definitely for some people.
Vinny, I think it's available to everybody if you have, again, the openness to accept and to receive, because that's really what it's about. It's about receiving.
And like my point with Pulp Fiction, somebody accepted it and saw it for what they thought it was, and the other person thought it was just a fluke. And then that person, John Travolta, spoiler alert, the movie came out in 94, if you didn't see it, but spoiler alert, John Travolta dies because he didn't see this as a spiritual intervention in his life. So, yeah, I definitely think it's all around us. It's just whether or not we're tuned in to the frequency.
And Yolanda had commented they happen after life-altering events. Not always. Sometimes it's very simple things. I'll give you a quick example. The company that I was working for when COVID first came out in 2020 said, I was 67 at the time. They said, we really don't want to take a chance on you, because all my work was involved in meeting people face to face. They said, take an early retirement. I wasn't ready to retire, didn't want to retire. They said, take an early retirement. And they were very generous about it, and I'm grateful that they were. The very same day that happened, I got a call from the seminary, from the current iteration of the seminary, asking me to come and be part of their teachings that weekend. Then they said, you never finished your Doctor of Ministry. You got your other degree. You didn't get your Doctor of Ministry. Why don't you finish your Doctor of Ministry? I said, okay. And then they said, we're going to bring back the Interfaith Temple to the internet, and we'd like you to be part of the Zoom services as Minister of Communication. I said, okay. So again, yes, a yes, a yes. And these things just kept flowing. And then in January of 2022, a dear friend of mine for 40 years from business said, I need you to come to work for me. I need your skills. And I said, yes. I came to work for him. And I'm out of retirement now for 2 years, and I love it. I'm going to be 71 in January. And I'm having the time of my life. And Karen knows this. Karen, there is no such thing as age. There is no such thing, right? Doesn't exist. It's a state of mind.
Yep. I want to tell you about a healing thing that happened for me. So I had these growths. I don't know. I know this is going to sound gross, but I had these large lumps under one of my arms, and I went in and had an ultrasound, and I went to see the doctor after, and she was freaking out. And she says, we got to get you in for chemotherapy and surgery and radiation and all this stuff. I says, hold on, you're scaring me. She says, well, I don't mean to, but we got to get on this right away. And there's long wait lists. And I says, are you sure my glands aren't just sick? Are you sure? She says, no, we're positive you have cancer. And in the report from the scan, they used the word malignant like 5 times, right? And I walked out of the office and I went, you know what? She does not have the power to tell me whether I'm going to live or I'm going to die. That's between me and God, Mm-hmm. And so I went for a long walk, and I just spoke to, my higher self, God, as I understood it to be at that time. And I just said, you know what? I'll make you a deal. How about if I just floated out there like Schrodinger's cat? I have cancer and I don't have cancer. Somewhere in the middle, and let's just see what happens. Long story short, 3 months later, I kept the appointment to see the surgeon. He says, Karen, there's nothing there. You got nothing. You're good. You're healthy. You're good to go. Like there's nothing wrong with you. And I went, great. And I actually never did go back and see the doctor. I never did go on their list. The hardest part about all of this, which is funny in retrospect, was me having to buy into the story. I knew my higher self said, Karen, don't buy into any story. Don't make a story, because, we know from quantum physics, the observer And when the observer decides this is how it is, all the other options collapse, and that's what it becomes. So I knew I had to not make a story, and I had to not tell anybody. And I was actually pretty sick when this happened, and I couldn't tell anybody. I knew I had to not tell anybody and not make a story out of it, and just do what my higher self directed me to do. I went for long walks. I was very careful with my diet, and boom, I was fine. And so I use that a lot. It's a wonderful tool. Just float it out there. Don't make a story about it. So I don't know if that's, I think that's congruent with what you folks are all talking about.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
If more people knew that, the healthcare system would be out of business,
Wouldn't that be great? Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Do people have questions? Sorry, I didn't want to.
No, they're just commenting. Everybody's doing great.
Okay. I have heard from some people that when they talk to other beings, whether it's aliens or spirits, that the aliens actually can do surgeries on people, help heal people. They've had like their spine worked on. I mean, Bob knows somebody where she literally had surgery by an alien because a human didn't do it. Have you guys heard of this before?
Not
Of
really.
aliens healing people?
I've heard of a procedure that's much like a colonoscopy that happens with aliens.
Preston Dennett's a friend of mine, and he's published 30 books on all kinds of paranormal stuff, and he's an investigator for MUFON, and he's had dozens of people give him their accounts of being healed by, I'll loosely call it extraterrestrial, because I think the interdimensional realm is all like part of that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So he's convinced.
Well, the question for me is those voices that I've been hearing since I was a kid, whose voices are they? Now
Right.
it could be extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial. It could be angelic. And I'll give you a quick angelic story. When I had my first Reiki class, I got home that night, and my daughter was 13 at the time, and she said, "What's this Reiki stuff?" I said, "Do you want to experience it?" And she said, "Yes." Let me backtrack. During the class, the Reiki master teacher told us to do a meditation. And while we're doing the meditation, he said, "See if something comes into your mind's eye." And immediately I saw what I perceived to be the image of an angel. And I did not have angel consciousness at that time. And I said, "I think I see an angel." He said, "Ask the angel its name." And I said, "Gabriel." Now we go home that night. My daughter, who's 13, says, "Daddy, I want to try that." So I put my hands over her head. She closed her eyes. She said, "Daddy," she said, "I see all of the people who had passed, her family members who had passed away, my father, her grandfather, a lot of different people." And she said, "Daddy, there's an angel flying above the group of people." I said, "Ask the angel its name." She goes, "Gabriel." So this connection, spiritual, angelic, extra dimensional, whatever the being might be,
Right.
I think that's the source of a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. My dad would talk to me. He would kind of be a guide for. Well, he very much was a teacher, spiritual teacher. And I have an issue. I want my son to have like the normal childhood, but I know he's like me and my father. So is there any advice you guys could give to people that do have children that they want to kind of not push it on them, but talk to them about who they are and the real world around them?
Yeah, I did with my kids. My kids are both gifted, and they're very, very different. And every time I tried to, put labels on them or describe or use words to describe what they were going through, they just turn to me, cheeky little buggers, and say, "Mom, keep your paradigms to yourself. We're just good the way we are. We don't." They're now in their late. Oh well, my daughter just turned 40, and my son's 37. And I guess they were born in that age where they're not bothered by the things that my generation was bothered by. They don't even think about things like racism or whether you're psychic or not psychic, or
Right.
it's just all life, and they just accept it all, and it happens how it happens for them. But sometimes they blow me away with the things they say and the things they do, and I go, oh my God, they have such freedom in the way they are, and they don't explain anything to anybody. They just be. They're really good at being, So I don't try to categorize them or give them advice or anything, because they got it. In fact, I got a lot I can learn from them.
No.
I think being a parent myself of at least 8 children through 6 states, what I do, Lala, I just get the heck out of there. I just get in the car. No, I'm just kidding. I only have 1 kid. So what I do, the child, when you're a child of somebody like me, I cast a big shadow. So, and that's something I have to watch out for. And my daughter, everybody rebels against their parents in a way too. So if it's something that she comes to me and asks about, and asks me for advice, and if you have your son and he's like interested, I think that's a big deal, because I think a lot of times, especially in the teen years, they try to find their identity anywhere else than their parent unit. And then if he's still around asking questions, I think that's a pretty remarkable admission that he's interested in something that you probably need to give him. You need to listen to what he's got to say and take it serious.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. He's 14, so he's.
And if he doesn't care about it at all, then you just kind of let him. He'll find his own way.
He does. He has dreams that come true and other things, but then at the same time, he's like, "Mom, that's just weirdo stuff. Don't talk to me about it." So, but I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, Victor, did you have advice you wanted?
I've said this a number of times on my podcast, where I've had people on who are psychics who also started experiencing things as children. Always encourage your kids to share with you what they're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Never make them wrong in any way. Never tell them not to say anything. Never tell them they have an overactive imagination.
Right.
Encourage them to pursue what they're feeling and what they're going through, and to share it with you. And the most important thing is listen. There's an old expression: you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice, speak once. And that applies to every conversation that we have, not just with our kids.
I agree. Thank you. Grizzly, did you have any questions?
No, you're hitting the head with the hammer. So
I know Bob
absolutely.
asked me something, but when I find Bob's question, I'll let you know. Sorry.
I can share another synchronicity story. This is a little more emotional synchronicity story. My first marriage came to an end because we were spiritually separating, going apart spiritually. I was spiritually expanding, she was spiritually contracting, and the marriage came to an end. I was teaching these classes, leading Friday night meditation groups and teaching healing classes. And at one of these classes, a friend of mine came up and said, "I know this woman who has cancer, and she'd like to learn more about meditation and Reiki and the stuff that you do. Would you be willing to meet with her?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I arranged to meet her on a Sunday morning, and I went, and she opened her door, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and we literally said, "It's you." Now, we'd never met before in this lifetime, but there was an immediate recognition that we'd known each other before. And what started as a friendship and a healing relationship, where I was helping her and going through the process that she was going through, we ended up falling in love. And we had a 3-year relationship that was most life-changing in so many ways I can't even begin to tell you. It really opened me up to a lot of other aspects. And she probably taught me how to love more than any person that I'd ever met up to that point in my life. In any event, she was the one who talked me into going to the seminary. And the reason I had to go to the seminary was, in those days, if you wanted to go into a hospital and do laying on of hands, the Reiki, you either had to be a licensed massage therapist or ordained in a faith where that was considered part of the practice. And obviously, with a full-time job, I couldn't take off 2 years and go to massage school. So this concept of going to this new seminary, which was like an adult education seminary, was wonderful. So she introduced me to the founder, and she and I actually enrolled together, and we're in the class together and had this amazing experience together. Come November of 1997, we're getting ready for the graduation, and the cancer had returned, and she was struggling with it. And during the speech, she and I graduated together, and were ordained together in this beautiful Cathedral of St. John the Divine here in New York City, in front of hundreds of people. And I was the president of the class, and I was giving a speech, and in the speech, I was honoring her. She was a special education teacher in Harlem who turned around the lives of thousands of kids, literally thousands of kids, who called her mom and just loved her, and loved the love and the compassion she brought to them, the teaching, the empowerment she gave to these kids. In any event, so I was honoring her in this speech, and that was November of 97, and January of 98, she passed.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I started going to became part of the faculty with the seminary, and I was recording classes and teaching classes. And this woman kept showing up at these classes, and every time she'd look at me, she'd smile at me, and I didn't know who she was. And so I asked one of my colleagues there. I said, "Who's this woman? She's new in the school that keeps smiling at me." And they said, "Oh, that's Lori Sue Brockway." I said, "Oh," I said, "a lot of the people who came there had other occupations. What did she do?" She was the editor-in-chief of Playgirl magazine. I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "She's not smiling at me. I'm not
You old sea dog, you.
I'm not a centerfold model." Little did I know she was attending the graduation ceremony. She heard me honoring Judy, this woman that I had that relationship with. And she said, "Where do you find a man who honors a woman the way this man is honoring that woman?" And it planted a seed. A friendship ensued, and a few months down the line, a relationship began. And we've been together now for many, many years. 20.
Oh,
Honey, how long have we been together now? A long time. We've been together we've been married now for 18 years and been together like 21 years. 22.
that's
Congratulations.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's synchronicity again coming to play.
Yes, absolutely. When my family passed a couple years ago, all of a sudden I started seeing the number 59. And I mean, a car would cut me off and it had 59 on it. I'd buy something and it'd be $59.59. But whenever I was really sad, the number would show up the most. And I knew it was them, you know. So I do believe in that, definitely.
I have a weird story. I don't know if it's a synchronicity. Can I tell you a short story? What really happened for me? And this is back when, after my angelic experience, I started to get control of my life and everything. I ended up somehow with this amazing experience of being able to go to university. Because before that, I thought I was stupid and I only had grade 10 education, right? So anyway, I was really happy to go to university, and I was taking psychology classes, and I learned that a lot of our memories are corrupted. We have a memory, we take it out, we look at it, it gets imbued with different, emotions, and we remember different parts or put information in. And so that a lot of our memories are actually corrupted and no longer resemble the actual factual event.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this is really cool. I can make this work for me. And of course I had some direction from, I don't know what you want to call it, my higher self. I don't even know sometimes where the direction comes from. I'm just grateful for it. And I decided that I was going to make some corrupted memories that were going to work for me, not against me. So, I didn't have the best childhood. My parents were pretty preoccupied, and I didn't get a lot of attention and stuff. I'm not trying to make y'all feel sorry for me. I mean, millions of us come from this kind of a background. And so I decided I would create some memories that were false, but made me happy. So I created a memory that when I came home from school, that my mom would get out the tea set and make tea and sit down with me and look at me and give me her attention and want to hear about my day. And gosh, it was such a lovely memory. I knew it was BS. I knew it never happened. I didn't care. And I worked on it, and I kind of crafted it. I crafted this memory. And I even took it a little further, that if I had a bad day, Mom could tell, and she'd get down the good china and maybe a few special cookies and we'd have that together. Gosh, it just really warmed my heart. It's going to make me cry. Made me feel so good. And it really helped me to repair my relationship with my mom. Well, about 6 months later, I go to visit my mom. We're just visiting. And she turns to me, right? And now, by the way, I got to tell you first, I never told anybody. This was mine. This was my private, corrupted memory. I loved it and I created it and I never shared it with anybody. So 6 months later, I go to visit my mom. It's going to make me cry. And she turned to me out of the blue and she said, Karen, do you remember the tea parties we used to have after school? And from that moment on, I realized, holy shit, we are so powerful, creative beings.
Wow.
That somehow my mom remembered my corrupted memory. And so I just want to tell people, especially people that have had some awful things happen to them in their lives or didn't get the love or attention they needed. You know, we can actually stop bringing up the old, you know, digging up bones and the old stuff that was hurtful and painful and start creating some new ones and plant them in there. And they make you feel so much better, number one. And number two, how the heck did my mom pick up and remember my corrupted memory? I don't know. I can't explain it.
Quantum entanglement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably.
Can I share a story about synchronicity?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Karen, that was a very beautiful story. I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Well, the first time I listened to synchronicity, I was more into funk and blues and stuff like that, and I really didn't like the Police. But the second side, you know, King of Pain, Every Breath You Take, and I'm a bass player too, so I was like, I gave it a chance. It was pretty good.
Thanks.
Now I think I'm going to cry. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, Karen, not to steal your thunder with that silly, stupid story, but that's really a nice. That's a powerful gift you have, man. And that goes to show how powerful human beings really are, and how untapped. And there is no guidebook really for a lot of these gifts, and people will go back to religious texts and stuff, but there's so many mysteries in there we don't even know how to decipher half that stuff half the time. And so that was an amazingly healthy way to deal with a crappy situation, and then it turned into a positive situation, and that's something nobody would ever come up with to tell anybody about. That's just an amazing attribute that you got.
I want to try it.
I have a lot of weird stuff. Especially since I left religion, and again, I'm not knocking religion. If you got a religion and it's working for you, all the power to you. But for me, when I left the dogma and stopped trying to follow what other people said was right, and just let it go and be my weird self. And guys, I'm nobody special. Trust me. And I make so many stupid mistakes, and you know, I'm a goofy kind of person. Like, I am nobody special. I'm not holy. I don't, you know, none of that. I'm ordinary. And if I can do these things, other people can too. But the other thing too is we got to stop maybe thinking of ourselves as being crazy, because that seems to be a way that the Matrix captivates us and keeps us from progressing. Maybe. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think, I'm sorry, I'm just going to cut you off here because, you know, the patriarchy, I win. I'm just kidding. You know, I love you. Anyway, I will say this. I'm almost 50 years old, and I've had a complicated relationship with religion. And something really pretty insane happened to me when I was in my 20s. And it's the reason I don't even believe in God. I know there is a God, and you can't go around talking to people like that because you sound arrogant, and you don't want people to but God talked to him. Why doesn't he talk to me? You don't want to make people feel bad. Mm-hmm. But I know through everything that's happening through politics and religion and church failing America and the world and stuff like that, if I didn't have that milestone, like I was talking to Victor a minute ago about, if I didn't have that, I probably would have lost my faith by now, because I just don't see a lot of evidence of the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Church, to me, for most people, not everybody, but church is chains and a bunch of limitations, and it's, to me, the opposite of liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And because you got a bunch of people telling you what you do, what you don't do, what you should believe, how you should act. I believe that is a very personal thing between you and your God, and it's not for no man to tell other people this is how you should be. So it's like you've got God on you, if that makes sense, and then you left the chains of the church. So it's like an additional superpower. And again, I'm not telling nobody not to go to church or nothing like that, but I do think when there's limitations constantly being put on you, it's crushing human souls. And I see it all the time with, under the guise of religion and supposed to be spirituality. And I just think it's the opposite. Churches, a lot of times, churches and the religious leaders are doing the exact opposite of what they're supposed to be doing.
Vinny, here's the secret. And this is something that I learned when I attended the seminary back in the 90s. In every faith, virtually every faith and every culture, there's an iteration of the golden rule. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Love thy neighbor as thyself. If everybody put everything else aside and just did that, what a world we would have.
And that's
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, for me, and this is just, again, my weird little world here. Please don't take it as, having any power over anybody or anything. But, it's crazy making. You go to one church and they tell you they're the only way and their God is the only one and they have the only acceptable way to worship God. And then you go across the street to another church and they say the same thing. Right. And they're all saying the same thing. It's crazy making. It's really crazy making. And I can't handle it personally. I just can't.
I can't either. It's like, wow, this small group of weird people, 48 people on Main Street and 16th, they're the ones that figured it out. Everybody else, the billions of people across the universe, they're all screwed and confused with this weird, musty smelling, bad music filled place where everybody's wearing polyester suits. These are the ones that figured it out in here.
And they're the only ones. Yeah. When I left religion, I was confused for a while, and I prayed and I said, I need a paradigm that's big enough that all the other paradigms can fit inside. I need something really, really big. And I did, I went to the stuff that, like what Victor just said, I looked at the golden threads that were common in all of them. And they were either harm none or treat other people the way you want to be treated. Like, you know what I mean? There's a higher level thread in all of them, and I gathered all those threads together and I owned those because they resonated with me. So again, I'm sorry if I don't mean to piss on sorry for my language too. I don't mean to piss on anybody's paradigm or anything. If what you're doing works for you, great. I'm just saying this is how it all went for me, and I'm happy now, and I'm really, really aware of how loved we are by forces we can't see. Oh my God, if we had any idea how much love there is and just tap into that, we're unstoppable. And exit the matrix. It's more fun.
Getting back to what Karen was sharing before about that experience with the Tea Party with her mom. The New Age talked about the secret and manifestation. And this is something that's not new. It's new from the 90s and what have you. But this goes back centuries after century after century. If you truly focus your energy on bringing something into fruition, if it's for your, and there's a rule here, if it's for your highest good and not to take away from the highest good of someone else, but if it's for your highest good without detracting from someone else's highest good, and you manifest it, it will happen for you.
No, I agree. Definitely. It might take a few months or years, but it definitely does. Yeah.
Well, Penny Vance nailed it on the head there in the comment there. And not turn this into Sunday school, but so if religion or God or whatever, spirituality is supposed to be a relationship, how in the world is listening to a guy having a coronary behind a pulpit screaming about this, that, and the other? How is that? That's like somebody just yelling at you to tell you how to treat your wife. This is a relationship you have with something spiritual. I take my direction from that voice or the coincidences that aren't coincidences in my life and all the messages that I receive. I don't need that guy's opinion,
Right.
his prejudiced opinion telling me how to live my life. And I think that's the problem we have. I will say the one caveat to that, though, because I am pretty outspoken about religion and my personality and my mission in life. And my second movie that we released is a commentary about religion and dogma, basically. But I will say this: I have learned there are people in the world that need that hardline legalistic stuff because they're crazy, they're addicts, they're people that will, if they didn't have the hard laws and the hard lines and the hard do this, don't do that, they would be a menace to society. And not to put those people down, but they have very little, maybe I shouldn't say this, but maybe very little potential spiritually. And it's good that they're kind of in this thing and they're kind of limited, so they're not going to wreak havoc on society. But I think most of us who aren't predestined to be a menace to the world, I think those things are counterproductive for most of us, because a lot of us need the chains off so we can fly.
Right.
I think it's written in our hearts. The law is written on our hearts.
Exactly.
And we don't need people to tell us,
That's exactly
don't
right.
lie, don't cheat, don't do this, don't do that.
That's exactly
wouldn't.
right.
Because you're empathetic and you care. Now, another thing that I've seen is there seems to be a rise of what they're labeling as narcissism or empathy deficient individuals. And I don't really know what to say about that. I'm not qualified to say much about that, except that I do know that there's a lot of good people and they got a lot of empathy, a lot of love, a lot of kindness. And I just gravitate and love them so much. And they're like a fuel source for me. They just help keep me going, and they're just so lovely. And that's where I want to be, is with those kind of people. I'm not saying the other people don't deserve to be cared for. It's just I don't know how effectively, right. And I need to protect me and the community that I've come to love.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe the word of God is written on the hearts of every man and woman. I do believe that. So that's where the true word of God resides.
And then you have the story about the dyslexic, insomniac, agnostic who stayed up all night wondering if dog really exists.
Tell him to come over. I got some evidence here. He can clean up in the mud room. He'll be a believer.
We are almost done, but I do have a question. Do you think that we shift dimensions when we create these scenarios, these new scenarios? Are we shifting?
Yep.
Is that how things change?
I think so. And I think we can all be in different dimensions at the same time. So, for instance, when you see the Mandela effect, or you see people who absolutely believe the world is flat or a globe or holographic, right? We all have our perceptual arena in our own reality. But I am actually quite convinced that I'm in a completely different dimensional reality than before I had that angelic experience, right. And that I've shifted along the way. And I really dig it. I really dig it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Victor, what do you think?
I think that there are multi-dimensions. And I think that every day we're crossing through multiple dimensions. And every night when we close our eyes, we're going through another dimension. And I think that the dimensions are something that we actually create. We are actually creating and projecting them with our energy. Yeah. And the dimension that I want to live in, it's funny, at 70 now, I'm probably I'm not going to say I have zero fear, but I have less fear, more compassion, more open heart, and a deeper sense of peace than I've ever had in my entire life, with everything, all the craziness in the world. I still feel that. I really feel that. And I think that's something that we can all manifest and create. And yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not far behind you. I'm 67 going on 68. And I agree. My world is beautiful. Like, I know there's a lot of stuff going on out there. I wish it were different. I wish people had it better. But my world is just amazing. I'm so happy. And it's a simple, peaceful, wonderful life. And I'm not afraid of dying either. If I died tonight, I'd go, oh my God, I had such a good life, you know? And I really turned things around. But I had spiritual help. So I'm not poo-pooing on spirituality
Right.
or the unseen realms. Just I don't like the control mechanisms, and I don't like the
Yeah.
matrix too much. Sorry, I'm babbling too much here. I'll be quiet.
You're fine. Vinny, what do you think?
I'm 48 and my life is shit. No, I believe, the Bible talks about 4 dimensions, and one doesn't even properly translate into English. We don't even know what it's saying. So I do think there are, we also have to define what a dimension is, like height, width, depth. That's ways to perceive dimensions. There's at least one other, if not more. And I do think my whole thing, and you guys don't know what I am, but like I'm on a television ghost hunting show, and very small. And so what I believe that we investigate at night, because you have to investigate at night or it doesn't look cool for television. What we're doing is we're perceiving either creatures or items or spirits or whatever that we really don't have the perceptors to receive in normal everyday life. And I think one of the possibilities is that things could be going from one dimension to another, or is slipping in and out of time, which I believe time is a man-made concept. I think most of us would agree with that. And we're doing something with the paranormal, which that means something now, the paranormal, but what it really means is something that's out of the what is the accepted day-to-day of what normality is. So yeah, I do believe as human beings, we are vastly ignorant, and all we can do is kind of branch out and try to unlock little mysteries here and there to better our lives. And when you do, like Victor says, and like Karen says, you can find peace when you kind of disengage from the lies that the world constantly tells you. And it's tough when you speak to somebody who's an atheist, or they don't believe there's anything like spirituality, and yet you've been a-hole deep in the ocean, and they're back in Kansas and they're saying there is no ocean, and you're just like, I can't help you. I'm not going to judge you, because I understand, because it is difficult. But I've had my own personal experiences. I'm not a nut. I run businesses. I've been college educated, this, that, and the other. I'm not a lunatic. I know what I've experienced. You haven't experienced any of this, or there's been things that have come to you and you've done the Vincent Vega thing, like in Pulp Fiction, like I said earlier, where you just discard it because it doesn't make rational sense to you. Well, what if this is an irrational world? So anyway, I do think that I don't know if we slip in and out of different dimensions. I don't know what that would really mean, but I do think we're surrounded by things we can't perceive that are probably in other dimensions, spirits, ghosts, angels, demons, other creatures. We have no idea what they are, things slipping in and out of time. So yeah, I think we're surrounded by a bunch of mystery, and that's what makes this part of life fun.
Lala, if I can just share something. My mom passed in January of 2020. And after she passed, thank you. After she passed, I started seeing these visions of circles and rings and circles and rings, and it kept coming through my mind. And this poem came through me called Circles and Rings, and if I may, I'd like to share it with everyone.
Please.
It says, the path of great beauty in so many things, from atoms to galaxies, circles and rings, natural wisdom that dwells there within, from naught to 360, that magical spin. We circle each other in gravity's dance, as Gaia circles soul, the solar romance, as Luna circles us in life-giving motion, drawing the tides and inner emotion. And the age of the oak is found in its rings, as in woman and man and all living things. And when the rings stop and life comes to an end, we'll all circle back and dance once again.
I love that.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That is beautiful.
You need to release a rap album. You're from Brooklyn. You got street cred. Are you?
How'd you know I was from Brooklyn? I said that before.
No, your accent.
My accent.
Yeah. Are you a Jets fan?
I am neutral sports. I'm not going to get into that right now, but because of strikes in sports years ago, with guys making a lot of money, I became neutral on sports. So.
I got it. Well, you're a lot, but I'm a Jets fan, and I had to up my Xanax and Prozac this morning. That was terrible last time. But
would anybody like to say anything else before we end it? And also, how does everybody get a hold of you?
happy birthday, by the way.
Who?
You.
Oh, it's my half birthday.
What the hell does that mean? I don't know what that means.
It means I wanted you to come off on the show, so I lied and said it was my half birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but thank you.
I'm sending you a gift. I need you to return that.
August 4th is my birthday.
Okay, I'll go first. So if nobody knows, I'm an entertainer, professional wrestler, movie maker, actor, filmmaker, ghost hunter, comedian, musician, blah, 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 and general asshole. And so if you'd like to stay in touch with me, you can find me on Facebook at Vinny Vineyard. It's on the screen right there. Also, we have a website called
I just saw that.
Hey,
Sorry.
just keep dropping hints until somebody picks up on it.
Oh my god!
If you want to watch the movies we're making, we're in the process of making 6 horror comedies about the legends, the lore, and the cryptids, and the magical stuff that happens in the Great Smoky Mountains. You can check that stuff out at bigandfunkyproductions.com. We also just released a road comedy where we went all the way through Route 66, which was a daunting task, but fun. But that's bigandfunkyproductions.com. You can also follow us at my Facebook and also my YouTube page. We're about to start. We've been talking. We're going to start releasing our shows that we produce, the ghost shows, paranormal shows, on our YouTube page, which is Big and Funky Productions YouTube. And that's all I've got.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Karen, you want to?
Yeah, right now, my show called, so you can find me on YouTube at Karen Holton TV, but a lot of the other platforms, you can find me by putting in the Quantum Guide Show or the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton. Right now, my Aliens and Angels podcast, I'm not doing much because I dedicated the show to people who actually have experiences. So I've had Lala on my show and other people who've had actual experiences. And I'm finding that there's actually not a lot of people that are having actual experiences. Plus, I've been working on my manuscript, so I haven't been doing very many shows myself. But there's quite a lot. I have a whole playlist of the shows I produced so far. And then, of course, the Quantum Guide Show is a show that was, what I did was I took what I needed when I was waking up to my greater reality, and I created a show that I needed when I was waking up, because I figured it would be good for other people too. Mm-hmm. And it's all kinds of stuff, everything from astrology. I just had a panel last week with Preston Dennett and Ryan Burns and Eric Wood from Paranormal Highway, and we were talking about whether or not space aliens are a real thing or not, because there's all kinds of information coming out now, and people are kind of thinking it might be a big psyop because of the kind of dumb meetings they're having in the government and stuff. But anyway, so there's all that, and I pre-record my shows because I'm all by myself and I get discombobulated trying to handle a chat and do a show and everything all by myself. Mm-hmm. But it comes out Wednesday nights. So do check it out. And I'm on tomorrow. I'm recording episode 140. So there's lots and lots and lots of content for folks. And like I said, YouTube is probably never going to monetize me. They think my content is harmful, which I think is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But it means I must be doing something right? If they're wanting to say my content is harmful, I just don't see it. But anyway, do visit my website, www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and check out my shop. And if you want to buy some of my Organite, that would help me out a lot. And Vinny, you're hilarious. Like, you make me laugh no matter what you do.
I just found that this thing has a chin strap.
Anyway, so I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And people leave me questions in the comments or whatever, or email me, and get back to you. And thank you, Lala and Grizzly Chris, for having me on your show. And
yes,
it's so great to meet Vinny and Victor. And I just love it because my community just keeps growing and growing with more wonderful, wonderful people. And I'm just so grateful.
Thank you.
And Victor.
And the best way to really check me out is you go to Facebook. It's Victor Fuhrman or Reiki Victor. And that way you can find me. I post my shows there. I post the shows, the first play shows, and then I post the YouTube of the following day. If you go to YouTube and go to Om Times Media, and then under there you'll see Destination Unlimited and Vox Novus, my two shows. Those are the recordings after they're initially aired through Om Times Network. And I've got over 300 of the Destination Unlimited shows. I've got over 100 of the Vox Novus shows. And the new shows, like I said, come out every Wednesday and Thursday. And then if you also just Google Victor Fuhrman Destination Unlimited, I've come up on iHeart, I come up on SoundCloud, Spotify, Player FM. There's a whole bunch of sites that these shows are carried on. And if you want to get in touch with me, Victor at victorthevoice.com. And again, and Grizzly Chris and Lala, thank you both so much. This was wonderful. Really, really
Thank you.
Absolutely. And from coast to coast around the world, we'll catch you on another show. Good night, everybody. Take care.